Hello friends, today in this video I am going to discuss about the MCQs on immunology, and this is the seventh part of the series of more than 1800 MCQs on immunology, which will be beneficial for CSIR life science exams, ICMR net exams, GATE life science exams, MSc entrance exams, MLT or medical laboratory technologist exam, nurse exam, hospital management exams, FSSAI exams, and many other exams. So this video will be beneficial for all of these biological or life science exams. Okay, and this is my new Telegram channel where you can contact with me. Okay, so let's start the MCQ session with detailed explanation on immunology. So the first question is: a positive tuberculin test is indicated by discoloration, induration, necrosis, or vasculitis, and the right answer is option B, that is induration. So a positive tuberculin test is indicated by induration. So what is induration? So induration refers to the thickening and hardening of soft tissues of the body. So this is the induration, that is the thickening and hardening of the soft tissues of body. And what is tuberculin test? A tuberculin reaction is positive based classified as positive based on the diameter of the induration. So depending on the diameter of the induration, we can say this is a positive tuberculin test or negative. Okay, and in a healthy person whose immune system is normal, induration greater than or equal to 15 millimeter is considered a positive skin test or positive tuberculin test. Okay, understand? So move on to the next question, that is: complement participation is required in antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity, IgE mediated anaphylaxis, glomerulonephritis, or killing by cytotoxic T cell, and the right one is option C, that is glomerulonephritis. Okay, so complement participation is required in glomerulonephritis. And the complement system, what is complement system? The complement system helps in help the immune system to eliminate the outsider and invader bacteria, viruses, and pathogens by helping macrophages and mast cell. Okay, so complement system helps the immune system to eliminate the virus, bacteria, and pathogens uh, which infected in human cell. Okay, and what is glomerulonephritis? Glomerulonephritis refers to a group of renal diseases affecting the glomeruli due to the damage mediated by immunological mechanisms. A large proportion of the disease manifestations are caused by disturbances in the complement system. Okay, so move on to the next question, that is: interpretations of positive tuberculin test is an active infection with Mycobacterium tuberculosis, an active infection with the non-tuberculous mycobacteria, an antibody response to Mycobacterium tuberculosis, or previous infection with Mycobacterium tuberculosis or Mycobacterium bovis. And the right one interpretation about the tuberculin test is option D, that is previous infection with Mycobacterium tuberculosis or Mycobacterium bovis. And this tuberculin test or tuberculin skin test or Mendel Mendel-Mantoux test or tuberculin sensitivity test or purified protein derivative test, or all are synonymous to each other, and it is a tool for screening for tuberculosis and for tuberculosis diagnosis. Okay, so the next question is: a delayed hypersensitivity reaction is characterized by infiltration of neutrophils, infiltration of lymphocyte and macrophages, infiltration composed of eosinophils, and edema without a cellular infiltrate. And the right answer is option B, that is infiltration of lymphocyte and macrophages, which are related to delayed hypersensitivity. And this type 4 or delayed hypersensitivity reaction occurs in more than 12 hours to develop and involve cell mediated immune response through T lymphocyte, and they are not dependent upon the antibody formation. This type 4 reaction is characterized by cellular infiltrate composed mainly of lymphocyte and macrophagic cells. Okay, so next one is long acting thyroid stimulator, that is LATS, is a hypersensitivity reaction involving antibodies, that is IgG, IgM, IgA or IgE, and the right one is option A, that is IgG antibody is involved with the hypersensitivity reaction that is known as long acting thyroid stimulator or LATS. This thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, that is IgG, which is known as TSI, is known as long acting thyroid stimulator, which is produced by lymphocytes in all cases of Graves disease, which is the responsible for hyperthyroidism. Okay, and this TSI or thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin act on the thyroid similar to TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, and it is responsible, this immunoglobulin is responsible for hyperthyroidism. This is the autoimmune disease, that is Graves disease. Okay, so move on to the next question, that is Graves disease is an example of hypersensitivity type 1, type 3, type 4 or type 5, and the right answer is option D, that is type 5. And in this type of hypersensitivity reaction, antibodies combine with antigens on cell surface which induces cell to proliferate and differentiate and enhances activity of effector cells. This type 5 hypersensitivity reaction plays an important role in pathogenesis of Graves disease, in which thyroid hormones are produced in excess quantity, okay, which show the hyperthyroidism. Okay, so move on to the next question, that is survival of an allograft depends on individual's procedure, tissue and tissue for grafting or HLA compatibility, and the right answer is option D, that is HLA compatibility is survival of the allograft depends on HLA compatibility, and this HLA means the human leukocyte antigen or HLA system or this HLA system or complex is a complex of genes on chromosome 6 in humans which encodes cell surface proteins responsible for the regulation of the immune system. The HLA system is also known as the human version of the major histocompatibility complex or MHC found in many animals. And this mutation and the mutation in HLA genes may be linked to autoimmune disease such as type 1 diabetes and celiac disease. So basically this HLA system is HLA system is used to recognize whether a cell is self cell or owns body's own cell or it is a foreign cell. Okay, so its role is to recognize the cell whether it is foreign or self cell. Okay, and to receive only blood from a person you do not need to be an HLA match because HLA is not present on red blood cells. However, to receive a solid organ transplant, the recipient must have a blood type that works with the donor's type, that is compatible, and they also need to have the best HLA match possible for organ transplantation. Okay, so next question is, all of the following are considered to be a privileged tissues for grafting except cornea, bone, fetus or bone marrow, and the right answer is option D, that is bone marrow. So except bone marrow, all the options are considered to be privileged tissue for grafting. These are tissues which we can use for graft but not bone marrow. Okay, so move on to the next, that is grafting of tissue from one's own body is called autograft, isograft, allograft or xenograft, and the right answer is option A, that is autograft. So autograft is grafting a tissue from an individual's own body. Okay, So move on to the next, that is graft between twins is an example of autograft, allograft, isograft or xenograft, and the right one is option C, that is isograft. So graft between twins is an example of isograft. And the move to the next question, that is grafts between two genetically different members of the same species are called autograft, allograft, isograft or xenograft, and the right one is option B, that is allograft. So in allograft, graft between two genetically different members of the same species are called allograft. So next question is, xenograft is a grafting procedure of a tissue from one side to another is in the same individual or in another individual of same genetic constitution or between two genetically different members of same species or between two genetically different members of different species, and the right one is option D. So xenograft means grafting between two genetically different members of different species. Okay. So next one is graft between genetically identical individuals are rejected slowly, subjected to hyperacute rejection or not rejected or rejected if organ is transplanted. So the right answer is option C, that is not rejected. So graft between genetically identical individuals are not rejected. So next question is, a kidney transplanted from brother to sister is an example of isograft, autograft, xenograft or allograft, and the right one is option D, that is allograft. Okay, so move on to the next question, that is the immune response exclusively responsible for allograft rejection is innate immunity, cell mediated immunity, antibody mediated immune response or none of the above, and the right one is option B, that is cell mediated immunity. So next one is graft and tumor rejection are mediated by cytotoxic cells, immunoglobulins, phagocytic cells, non-complement fixing antibodies, and the right one is option A, that is cytotoxic cells. So graft and tumor rejection are mediated by cytotoxic cells. Next one is rejection of kidney transplanted between different individuals is mainly due to the action of interferon on the donor cells, macrophages mediated lysis of the donor cells, lack of immunological tolerance or action of host CD4 and CD8 cells, and the right one is option D. So rejection of kidney transplanted between different individuals is mainly due to the action of host CD4 and CD8 cells. So the next one is the graft rejection process due to the presence of preformed antibodies in the recipient is referred to as acute rejection, hyperacute rejection, chronic rejection or immediate rejection, and the right one is option B, hyperacute rejection. That is a graft rejection process due to the presence of preformed antibodies in the recipient is referred to as hyperacute rejection. Next question is, graft versus host reaction is caused by B cells, T cells, macrophages or complement, and the right answer is option B, that is T cells. Okay, so graft versus host reaction is caused by T cells. And the next one is, under which condition graft versus host reaction occurs? When tumor tissues are grafted, when graft is contaminated with gram-negative microorganism, when graft has significant number of viable T cells, or when graft has histocompatibility antigens not found in the recipient. And the right one is option C, that is when under the condition when graft versus host reaction occurs, that is when graft has significant number of viable T cells. Okay, so next question is, anti-lymphocyte globulins and anti-thymocyte globulins are effective in suppressing allograft rejection because of their ability to suppress cell-mediated immunity, activate humoral immunity, prevent migration of macrophages, to react with antigen in the graft, and the right answer is option A, that is suppress cell mediated immunity. Okay, so next one is role of MHC class 1 proteins on donor cells in graft rejection: enhance the function of macrophage, recognition element for cytotoxic T cells, or enhance the function of helper cells, or all of the above. So the right answer regarding the role of MHC class 1 protein on donor cell is option B, that is its role is recognize or recognition element, act as a recognition element for cytotoxic T cell. Okay, so this is the role of MHC class 1 protein. So next one is false statement concerning thymectomy at birth in mice is there is decreased antibody response to many antigens, there is increased possibility of successful skin and tumor graft, defect arising from thymectomy and corrected by administration of serum from normal mice, or it is associated with shorter lifespan as a consequence of overwhelming infection. So the right one is option C, that is, so the thymectomy at birth in mice is defect arising from thymectomy are corrected by administration of serum from normal mice. Okay, and this thymectomy is the resection of the thymus gland and is most commonly performed for patients with myasthenia gravis and thymoma. Okay, and the next one is that is a cancer cell is always compared to a xenograft, an isograft, an allograft, or an autograft. So a cancer cell is always compared to an allograft, that is option C. Okay, so the last question of this series of this video, that is the strongest evidence for the role of immune system in preventing establishment of tumor comes from the hereditary pattern of malignancies, punctuality of tumor in the very young individuals, no spontaneous regression of tumor, or increased incidences of malignancies in acquired immunodeficiency. And the right one is option D, that is increased incidences of malignancies in acquired immunodeficiencies. Okay, so these are the 25 questions of this video on immunology. So thank you for watching this video, and we will see you on our next video, that is part 8 of immunological MCQ. Okay, thank you for watching this video.